So, Harry, have you ever entered a talent show? And if so, did you win? And what was your talent? And tell the truth, please.
Okay.
No most handsome man stories. We've already had that one.
Okay, sure. Okay, yeah. No, I have won plenty of beauty pageants in my time, of course.
On Monopoly, right?
Well,
you come second in Monopoly,
second place in a bit. Yeah, I've got £10 for that many times.
Sure, okay.
Anyway, yes, I have performed in a talent show of sorts, more of a cabaret. Almost.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you in like stockings and suspenders, the whole cabaret?
I was actually in a dragged-up mermaid costume.
Oh, amazing.
I went by the name of Eliza.
Okay.
And I was in an improv challenge.
Okay. Tell me more.
Well, there wasn't a lot to it. I had to eat a biscuit without picking it up with my flippers.
Okay, so what, the biscuit's on the floor and you're dressed as a full mermaid?
Well, no, the biscuit was actually on the side of my face, and I've got to kind of roll it down my face into my mouth.
Okay.
It took me a lot of tries, I'll be honest. I probably got through 2 or 3 packets on stage.
Okay.
But I can't say they were all accidental fails, let's say.
What was the costume then? How did you dress as a mermaid?
So I had a mermaid's tail made out of some fabric. Wasn't that great in hindsight. I had a golden shell bra and a bright red wig.
Oh, that was it?
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. Do you still own that outfit?
No.
No.
I've given it to my best friend from high school. I do not know what he does with it. I think it's a sexual thing.
Okay, so
I'm not sure. I've not asked.
There's no chance of you reviving the act in the near future. Then, no. Oh, what a shame! What a shame.
I'm sure it gets well used.
Mm-hmm.
Some films are fine just the way they are. Other films sometimes take it way too far. But really, how bad could it get? Let's go beyond the box set.
Welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Box Set, the podcast where today we are picturing prequels, sequels, and spin-off ideas to Dreamgirls as part of our season of films starring singers.
Yes,
That's
what it is. Yeah.
We'll also be pitching some drinking games and hearing from our listeners with the ideas they have posted on our Facebook and Twitter pages. But first, we're going to talk about some of our favourite moments from the original movie and catch you up with a bit of a plot summary. I'm Harry, the host with the most shouty singing voice.
I mean, sure. I mean, you don't really sing very often. You're quite
in front of
shy.
you.
No, that's what I mean. You're quite shy about your singing voice.
Oh, I sing all the time. Like pretty much whenever I'm working, I'm singing.
Fair enough. What's your favourite? What's your best tune? What are you normally singing? Or what's on your current rotation?
Busted, Avril Lavigne.
Okay.
Pink. Mm-hmm. That's that sort of crap.
Okay, contemporary pop.
Yeah. High class music.
Yeah.
And joining me as always, the host with the most chance of being secretly replaced. It's John Lucas.
Dare you? It's been like 5 years, Harry. If you haven't replaced me yet, then you've got no chance.
Anywho. So, Dreamgirls, what do you think of this then?
Dreamgirls, yes. The 2006 hit, starring Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson and Eddie Murphy. I had mixed feelings about this film.
I didn't like it at all.
Nah, well, it was your pick. You picked it. Why did you pick a film you don't like?
Well, I thought I did like it.
Okay, yeah.
Watching it back, I've got a lot. No. I'll be honest. I did like a lot of it, but equally, there's a lot of things in this that I would change.
Yeah, I think I'm the same. It's not a bad film.
No,
and there's lots to enjoy, and there's some really good musical numbers, but it's also a lot that's not very good.
Yeah,
it's way too long.
It should be an hour less.
It is way too long.
Yeah,
it is far too. I feel like it doesn't. It jumps around the characters too much. I feel like it doesn't have.
It's too long, but it's also too brief.
Yeah, it doesn't have a strong focus. I feel like the jump from characters to characters, like an hour and a half into the movie, you're supposed to care about Beyonce's character. Like what?
Yeah.
At that point, it's too late. We don't care.
Yeah.
We're on Jennifer Hudson's side at this point. Yeah, it's not very focused. For every great song, there are 2 that are absolute shite.
My God.
There's some really, really bad songs in this.
Yeah.
There's some great ones. Like I'm telling you, obviously.
Yeah.
Great song.
Listen.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan, but fine. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
But for every one of those, there's also a family or or the Eddie Murphy Jimmy What Got Back song, which is just embarrassing for everyone involved.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. It definitely has its pluses, and there's certain things about it that are great, but on the whole, I think it's very sanitized as well. It feels like a very cookie cutter kind of sanitized telling of this story.
Yeah.
I feel like nobody in this film is a real human being.
Yeah, I think yeah.
And like, it's
Well,
a musical,
no,
so
like
you don't expect it to be like a deep character study, but
Sure.
it just doesn't really, I don't know, it feels like the characters are very thinly written, even for a musical.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're given so little. Each of them is given so little to do.
Yeah, it just needed to be more focused.
Yeah. I think that what this needed to be was a mini-series.
That could work.
Just like an 8 to 10 episode or 6 to 10 episode show where they just spend a bit more time on everything. Because, like, you really don't care about Jamie Foxx cheating on Jennifer Hudson.
No.
Because, like, you've seen them for a very, very short amount of time together. I meant to do the research, but I'll be honest, I couldn't be asked.
Okay, well.
I wanted to see if that song, I'm Telling You, goes on for longer than they have screen time together.
Ah, that's interesting.
Because that song goes on for a long time.
It's a long... it's the highlight of the movie, but yes, I agree.
It's like a 10-minute number if you include everything that happens before and after it that is musical.
Sure.
And they don't have very much screen time together beforehand. Like, their relationship starts and finishes in the first 10, 15 minutes.
That's what I mean. Everyone's so two-dimensional that it doesn't really land very well.
Yeah.
The other thing that I noticed this time around is that it was very clear, like, this is, I believe to this day, possibly the highest grossing film with an all-black cast. Like, there are no white characters, as far as I remember.
Yeah.
I think there's certainly no significant ones. I'm sure.
No, there's some brief ones. There's John Lithgow and John Krasinski.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, we'll get to drinking games for, like, random cameos, but significant.
And there were the people in the music video of that Cadillac song that the white people ripped off.
Oh, that was great, yeah. But no like significant characters. Yeah,
like literally other than that, I don't think there's white people on screen.
Yeah, so
the Beatles are mentioned once.
Yeah. So in that
not
sense,
by name.
Yeah. So in that sense, it's very progressive because it is an all black cast, and it's a very commercially successful movie. But one thing I noticed and is very obvious when you realize it is that it was directed, written, and all the songs mostly were written by middle-aged white guys.
Great.
And you can very much tell.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the songs, my God, like the good ones are really good.
Well, you know what I really didn't like about this is that it's in the middle. No, it's not in the middle. It's both of the two different types of musicals. You know, the musical, which is there's music in the world.
Yeah.
You know, which would be like an artist singing a song. Or there's musicals which are, I'm very emotional, so I'm just going to sing about it as though I'm in Les Miserables. And this is both.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And one of those is good in this. Like as a rule of thumb, it's not exclusive, but one of those is good and one of those is bad, because when they suddenly start talk singing, that's when it gets really bad.
I agree. I was going to say the same thing. That's a real problem I had with this movie too, is that, yeah, that thing where musicals are either sung through where every line of dialogue is a song.
Yeah.
That can work. Or you can have it where all the songs are big numbers, like The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
All the songs are big, memorable pop songs, and in between they just talk like human beings.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, it's weird. It's like there are the big show tunes, and there's lots of dialogue where nobody's singing, and it's just like a real world scene.
Yeah.
And then suddenly out of nowhere, in this very awkward and stilted way, Jamie Foxx will just burst into song.
Yeah.
But in a really uncomfortable way.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's really weird.
And it's done in such a way that nobody's voices are sort of hidden in the mix of the music. So it just makes a lot of people sound like they're really bad singers.
Yeah.
And I know that a lot of these people, and you know what? I know that all of these people who are singing in this can sing. But some people, like, say, the guy who plays Jennifer Hudson's brother.
Sure.
He does not sound good in this.
No,
ever.
I know what you mean, yeah.
Because whenever he's singing, it's talk singing. He doesn't really get a number.
He doesn't get a song, yeah.
It's talk singing, and so there's not very much music to it to sort of back him up. And his voice by himself just doesn't sound great, especially as he's being immediately compared to like Jennifer Hudson and on occasion Beyonce and Jamie Foxx, who can sing to an extent. Eddie Murphy's got a great voice.
Well, he's got a good voice. I wouldn't say he's like Jennifer Hudson level.
No, but
he can certainly carry you. Like, he's great in this. Like, it's interesting. Jennifer Hudson and Eddie Murphy were both the ones who were nominated for Oscars for this.
Okay.
But it was a real like art imitates life thing, because they were both nominated for Best Supporting Actor and Best Supporting Actress. Jennifer Hudson won. But I mean, in terms of screen time, I mean, it's hard to say. This movie really jumps around a lot. But who would you say is the lead of this movie?
maybe, I don't know, maybe Jamie Foxx. Like he's
Possibly,
he's got the most screen time.
Yeah, he's the one who's in it consistently because
Yeah.
Jennifer Hudson disappears for huge chunks of the movie.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy disappears for huge chunks of the movie and dies halfway through.
Yeah, but I'd say
Beyonce's not in it that much.
No,
like
she's really not.
she's in the background from the start to the finish, but she doesn't really get a lot to do. So yeah, maybe it is Jamie Foxx, like line for line.
Yeah, I guess.
Hard to say.
But it's it's not always judged by that. And I'd say that if there was a main character in this, I'd say Jennifer Hudson. But yeah, they definitely jump over a lot of her story, and I don't think that's a symptom of the film. I think that's a symptom of the actual stage show, because there's a very clear interval in this.
Yeah.
And
after I'm telling you I'm not going.
Yeah, that's the main sort of time jump in this, and that's when pretty much all her interesting plot happens.
Yeah. The second half really dragged for me. And
so I assume that the interval and that time jump happen exactly the same in the stage show.
Sure.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either, but I would also assume. It sounds like I'm telling you I'm not going is the curtain number. You can see the curtain coming down. And
definitely, yeah. Yeah, but I know there were some differences. Like, I know that Listen wasn't in the stage show.
No, it wasn't. Well, that's really interesting too. This movie, like the stage show came out in like the 70s, huge hits, So they've been trying to make a movie out of this, or they had been trying to make a movie out of this for like 30 years. Never quite managed to.
70s? That's really fresh, because it was like.
Well, I mean,
wasn't it like late 60s, early 70s that this film was set?
Okay, fine. So I think the musical opened in the 80s, so like 20 years, fine. It took them 20 years to get it made. Right. It's still a long time.
Yeah.
At one point, it was for Whitney Houston. So they were building up. Back in the peak of Whitney Houston's career, late 80s, early 90s, it was going to be a Whitney Houston vehicle, and they were putting loads of money into it.
Yeah.
But as you mentioned, Listen is not in the stage show. It's written specifically for the film. So that hadn't happened. And when they were trying to build it around Whitney Houston, she wanted to play Beyonce. Like, because she wasn't going to play the dumpy backing singer. She wanted to play like the star.
Yeah.
So she was supposed to be the Beyonce role, but she also wanted to sing I'm Telling You I'm Not Going.
So she just misunderstood the film?
Well, she just didn't. It wasn't that she misunderstood. I think it was more that she wanted both.
Right, okay.
She was like, I'm the star, so I should have the biggest song.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be the one who isn't as good of a singer, but the one who isn't as good of a singer is the star. That's the story. So they just couldn't make it work, because she didn't really get it.
So nobody came up with the idea that was later came up with for Beyonce.
Yeah, so clearly a similar thing happened with Beyonce when she was like, well, okay, fine, I'll play the star, but I'm not going to not have a number.
Yeah.
And so they wrote Listen specifically for the film to give Beyonce a big showstopper number, which kind of doesn't make any sense.
Does it not?
I don't think so, because
I think it really makes sense in the context of the film.
Yeah, no, I mean, in terms of her story, sure, it gives her a big 11 o'clock number. That's fine. But what I mean is, like, her whole plot is, because it's basically the story of Diana Ross and the Supremes. It's a very thinly veiled story about them. And it's all about how Diana Ross never had the biggest voice. She's not like a big belting Jennifer Hudson diva, but she was very pretty and, conventionally attractive. And she had this kind of light, thin voice, and it kind of worked on pop songs. And that was what she was good at. And she got pushed to the front.
Yeah.
And so that's the role Beyonce is playing, which makes sense because Beyonce is very beautiful and conventionally attractive. But then you give her Listen. But throughout the whole film, they keep saying, well, you can't sing like Jennifer Hudson can sing, though. And she's like, no, I can't. She's the voice, I'm the face,
Yeah.
That's the idea. And then they give her Listen, which is this huge vocal performance. And it just feels like, oh, well, I mean, she's still not as good of a singer as Jennifer Hudson, because Jennifer Hudson is amazing. But Listen is so huge. It's like, well, she does have a big diva voice. And it just kind of takes away from it a little bit, I think. And it's clearly because Beyonce wanted a big show-stopping number.
Yes.
Even though in the context of the story, her character's not supposed to be that kind of a singer.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It doesn't quite track.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
I mean, I'm nitpicking, but...
Yeah, but like, hell, we're not going to have any fun if we're not going to nitpick
Exactly.
this film, because that's where this film falls apart.
100%.
When you nitpick it.
Yeah.
So I get all that. I'm a big fan of Beyonce, and especially that song. And then listening to that song in the context of this film, I really think it adds something a bit more to this film, because it signifies that character's big realization.
Sure, I just wish they'd given more build-up to her character, because I felt like it was too late in the movie for you to be expected to care about what was going on in her life.
Well, that's a common problem throughout the entire movie, where everything that happens is seemingly out of nowhere.
Yes, true, yeah.
There's not really any foreshadowing at all in anything in this, and it needed a lot more of that sort of thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the Dreams. Dreamettes, little girls, you women now. See, Dean, I told you.
We open in a week, so we got a lot of work to do. We're gonna have a lot of changes. I'm bringing on Jolly Jenkins to stage a whole new show. He's done movies, Broadway, club acts, you name it. New wigs, the expensive kind. Brand new costumes to appeal to a younger crowd. And, Effie. Dean is gonna sing lead.
Dean is doing what?
We've not actually done a plot summary.
Well, okay, well, hit me.
Okay, so we start off in a talent show where Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson and
Anna Canoni Rose.
And number 3 are...
and Michelle.
Sure. She was called Michelle as well, wasn't she?
No, her character was called Laurel, but close enough.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, she's the Michelle of the group, clearly. Yeah.
They've managed to get themselves a gig at this talent show, and they sing the house down, and the way that we're shown it, like they're supposed to be the best actor or whatever, but they don't win. The guy who was on before them, it looks like it was rigged for him to win or something.
Yeah. Well, they kind of imply that the whole music industry is very rigged in this film.
Yeah.
It's all, which is probably very true. But yeah, he's the one who's got the record label support or whatever, so he wins.
So the girls are all quite disappointed by it, but backstage, Jamie Foxx comes up to them and says, like, "Hey, I can get you a gig if you're willing to sing backing for Jimmy Early," which is Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, who's like a sort of Little Richard, James Brown kind of, very sexual heartthrob R&B singer. Yeah, bit dangerous, bit wild. Yeah. And Jennifer Hudson has a big problem with this because she's like, I don't want to sing backing because I don't. That's not the kind of thing that I do. I don't sing backing. I sing lead. But she's getting a bit caught up because this is their big break. Like, they get to sing behind this big artist with the promise of, like a tour, which they do go on, and it's the start of their big break. She's not up for it, but they all peer pressure her into it. Sure. And they do it, and it goes well. And after a while, Jamie Foxx splits them out of the tour, and they get their own solo deal. Well, yeah, it's because Jamie Foxx he's trying to push Eddie Murphy. He's managing Eddie Murphy. Yeah. And he's trying to make him a star. But at the time, it's still, very segregated music, The radios prefer to play white boys. And so the other main character is Jennifer Hudson's brother, who's a songwriter. He's supposed to be like, I don't know, Smokey Robinson or, Marvin Gaye kind of person. He writes a hit for Eddie Murphy called Got Me a Cadillac. Yeah. And when Eddie Murphy's character sings it, it's like a banging R&B kind of tune. It's very aggressive and soulful. And so he sings and it starts climbing up the charts, and then the whitest boy in the world covers it. Like the most comedically white, corn-fed beach boy sings it in this very kind of white voice with his little guitar, and he's just like, got me a Cadillac car, and it goes straight to number 1. And that's when Jamie Foxx kind of realizes, oh, if we want to compete with the white boys, we need to pander to them. We can't be too quote unquote too black. We can't be too sexual, we can't be too funky, we can't be too aggressive, we have to play it safe. And so that's the direction he tries to push Eddie Murphy in, and then it culminates in this showcase, this big nightclub act that he builds around Eddie Murphy with the Dreamgirls, as they're called, Beyonce, Jennifer Hudson and Anna Canoni Rose as the backing vocalists. And it starts with Eddie Murphy singing this very safe, middle of the road ballad, which all the housewives and all the rich ladies in the crowd are really enjoying, But then halfway through, he stops
mid-song.
He stops mid-song and he does his own thing because that's not the music he likes. He's a soul singer. He's an R&B singer. He's got swagger. And then he starts doing his own thing, which is very much more, a lot more sexual and a lot more raw. He's rather than singing in this very smooth voice, he's screaming out and ad-libbing and, doing all kinds of jazzy stuff. And all the white people are very uncomfortable with it. A few of them walk out. And that makes Jamie Foxx realize that he's not going to be marketable enough. Yeah. He's never going to be able to fit into that little box that he wants him to. So instead, he decides to separate Eddie Murphy from the Dreamgirls and push them as a very safe, family-friendly girl band. But in doing so, in all of the build-up, Jennifer Hudson has been the lead singer, and Beyonce's been backing vocal. Because Jennifer Hudson has the voice. She's got this incredible, incredible vocal range. She's amazing. But when Jamie Foxx...
I noticed in this that clearly Jennifer Hudson had been given the instruction, you need to sing loud and, strong all the time. And so almost all of her singing in this, she's turned it up to 15 out of 10.
I mean, that is how she sings.
Well, sure, but it just felt, you know, I don't think I've heard any of her music outside of this. And it just really felt over the top.
Yeah.
Like just how loud and strong that she's singing. And like compared to Beyonce, as Beyonce, not as the character in this, there's a lot more range there. Whereas this is just always so loud and screamy, and it was too much. It was kind of annoying. It wasn't enjoyable anymore.
That's because you're too white.
Thank you. On the other end of the spectrum, Beyonce had clearly been told to like tone it down a bit because like she's playing a softer character, a softer voice.
She's playing
character.
Diana Ross.
Yeah. And like I could tell from like obviously I know how Beyonce sings, and she wasn't doing any of the stuff that she obviously later does in Listen.
Yeah.
And it was all very light, and it felt so extremely different, those two, that it was just, I don't know, maybe it was...
Well, this is not a subtle film, Harry.
No, yeah, true. Maybe they were trying to make it less subtle so that more people could pick up on it.
Sure,
perhaps,
yeah.
I guess.
Well, also this film is very, especially with the way the Oscars happened, it was, and I think the reason Jennifer Hudson won an Oscar, I mean, she's great in the film, but there was a real kind of art imitating life storyline because Jennifer Hudson became famous from American Idol. She was on season 3 of American Idol, and she came on and she was this like, you know, she wasn't anyone famous. She was a complete nobody, but she auditioned and she had this, she was kind of rough around the edges. She had no money and she wasn't very glamorous, but she had this incredible, huge voice, like unbelievable, knock your socks off voice.
Yeah.
And she came like 9th. She got knocked out really early in the live shows.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, that's crazy that she got knocked out. But
Who won?
nobody remembers.
Great.
Doesn't matter. You know, that's nobody who's had anything like the career she's had. Nobody with an Oscar.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, these shows are weird. Like, it's not the most talented. It's, you know, lots of. Yeah, it's usually
The winners of them never get remembered. It's always the runners up.
Yeah, the winner is usually the blandest, safest, you
Yeah.
know, easiest person for everyone to enjoy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she got knocked out super early, and it was a big scandal because I think the week she went out, like all of the 3 black girls in the final 12 were in the bottom 3, and it was just like, well,
Right.
clearly this is not
Yeah.
what people are voting for.
Yeah.
But so then she gets cast in this film, and Beyonce is also cast, and you feel, oh, this is Beyonce's Oscar role. This is Beyonce's Oscar vehicle,
Yeah.
and then Jennifer Hudson steals the show and
Yeah.
wins the Oscar, and Beyonce kind of gets forgotten. So
Yeah.
there was a real kind
Well,
of
it wasn't the role, like Beyonce's role in this wasn't an Oscar-winning role.
true.
Like,
Well,
I
that
don't
was
think,
the way
I
people
don't
watched
think
it.
Beyonce could have played it any better to get an Oscar.
Beyonce's fine.
Yeah,
The writing in this
she
film,
absolutely is.
The writing in this film doesn't give her anything. You're right. She doesn't have like an Oscar apart from Listen. She doesn't really have any Oscar scenes. It's not really. But I think Beyonce's.
Well, there's not enough nuance to the character. Like,
No,
she's,
it's a very 2-dimensional character.
she's very one note all the way through until Listen.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
But also, I
done for
still
the
think
Oscars for not
Beyonce's a very good
doing it.
actress. I don't think she's not distractingly bad.
No, definitely not. She's absolutely fine.
But she's boring.
Yeah.
She's basically boring.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can say. She's quite boring.
I think I remember her being better in Cadillac Records, which maybe
I mean, sure, I've not seen that.
which maybe I should have picked instead.
It would have been a different conversation, but yeah.
Absolutely.
I've not seen Beyonce in a role where she's actually had to like really try and act.
Okay. Yeah. I know that she does in Cadillac Records.
Okay, well maybe
I
not.
forget how well she does it, but she does it.
Sure, but anyway, yeah. So Jennifer Hudson very much had that narrative. Where were we in the story? I had a point to that. Where were we in the story?
Jennifer Hudson getting fired.
Yes, so Jennifer Hudson gets pushed into back. She's not fired yet. She gets pushed into being the backing vocalist, and Beyonce is now the star.
Oh yeah. This commenced another montage.
Yes, commencing another montage as the girl group becomes hugely successful, with Beyonce becoming, or Dina as she's known in the film. She becomes a huge sensation. She's being pushed very much to the front. Jamie Foxx, in the build-up to all this, has been dating Jennifer Hudson. They've got a relationship. But as the band takes off, it's clear that he's paying much more attention to Dina.
Yeah.
And Jennifer Hudson notices, and that's as well as her being incredibly like hurt and, you know, insecure about the fact that she's been pushed into a backing vocalist role, seeing her boyfriend also now giving all his attention to Beyonce is just adding more and more to her anxiousness. And as a result, she acts out and she starts misbehaving, turning up late for gigs, talking back to people, being difficult, basically being a diva. She's being a diva, but she's not, because she's not the star, she can't get away with it. And so that kind of roused everyone else up and ultimately leads to her being fired.
Yeah.
Which,
I think it happens in a scene where he also calls her fat.
yeah, it's a pretty brutal
Yeah.
way of firing it. Well, it's the "I'm telling you I'm not going" scene.
Yeah.
So there's the song before "I'm not telling you," which I think is the more fun song. It's not as iconic, but
Which one?
It's All Over.
I don't remember it.
It's the one where he calls her fat.
Okay.
But it's that, you know, you listen here, you listen, Miss Effie White. You know, I don't take no talk from no second-class diva. You can't even sustain a career. No? No memory?
No, I remember that a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now
nice.
we're telling. I mean, the two songs are very much like they go together.
Sure. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they just don't. There's not really a break between them.
No.
Now, I hate to sound exactly like the way that white people are depicted in this movie,
Sure.
but prepare yourself.
I'm ready.
I preferred all the music and The Greatest Showman to this.
I mean, it's very different.
It's extremely different.
It's pop songs.
But just like we did that, 2 episodes ago?
Sure.
So it's just on my mind.
Well, I think in The Greatest Showman, pretty much all of the hit rate is a lot higher.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of the songs
that's it.
are catchy and memorable and standout moments.
Yeah.
This film has maybe 3 great musical numbers.
I'd say 3 attempts.
3 attempts.
I don't think they're great musical numbers.
Well, I think I'm telling you is iconic. I think it just is.
Sure.
It's just, it might not be like your favorite song, but it's like, it's so impressive vocally and it's so memorable and it's genuinely like, people are going to be singing that to the end of time, I really, no, they will, like on talent shows and stuff. It's just one of those.
It's very cute.
It is. I don't love it. I don't love it. It's not a song I would like choose to listen to outside of this film.
Yeah.
I would never like put it on to listen to.
Yeah.
But it's a big music. It's a big song.
Until the end of time.
Well, until, while people are singing songs. Okay, that
I'm
must
not
have been...
saying you're wrong. It's just funny.
Okay.
Like you are so like you're more into that than I am than I'm into listen.
Probably, yeah. But I mean, I would never choose to listen to it. But
No.
I'm just saying, like, it's a classic. It's it's like You're the One That I Want from Greece or something. I mean, not as much fun, but you know what I mean. Like,
See, I don't think that, and I'm telling you, I don't think it's a very catchy song.
it's more
Like,
that it's,
I can't remember how it goes. It's not stuck in my head at all. And not that like Listen or something is super catchy, but I can at least remember it. I can remember it
and
after.
I am telling you, I'm not going. No,
And then what?
you're the best man I've ever known. No way. No way. I'm living without you. Come on, it's all there.
That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
None that'll make the edit, but
Ah, I miss karaoke nights.
no, I'm not saying it's the best song ever written.
Yeah.
I'm just saying The Greatest Showman is full of like very good pop songs.
Yes.
Dreamgirls has like 2 or 3 amazing top drawer iconic classics and a whole load of shit.
Yeah.
There's no like middle ground.
Well, it's
the
like-
good ones are great and the rest are just filler.
It's that like I didn't even like all the good ones.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, that's
So,
fine. Like that, yeah.
But like in other things like The Greatest Showman or Grease or many other examples,
Sure.
there's just so many like songs that are memorable that you're bound to like 1 or 2 of them at least.
Sure.
And that's probably going to bring the whole film up if you like the music. Like we said in the Greatest Showman episode, if you get the music right, you'll be
Sure.
all right. The film will be all right.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this. There are like in The Greatest Showman, I don't think every song is amazing, but you're never more than 10 minutes away from a really big number.
Yeah.
Whereas this
Yeah.
film, you could be a whole hour away.
Yeah.
If you- the ones I really
It's
like.
so long as well.
It's
This
so long,
film.
yeah.
This film doesn't need to be a half hour shorter. It needs to be a full hour shorter.
Probably it's 2.5 hours, just under. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it could certainly be a 90-minute film. I think.
Yeah.
Just make it about one character.
Yeah.
Jennifer Hudson's not in it for like 45 minutes, and those are the boring 45 minutes. So clearly, you know what you need to do. But yeah, the songs I really like in this. I'm telling you, I'm not going, and It's All Over, which are all one piece, but work really well. I really like Love You I Do. That's probably my favorite song. No, the one that Jennifer Hudson sings to Jamie Foxx at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
I love you, I do. The really funky one with all the trumpets.
Yeah,
That feels like a proper song.
Yeah.
And
I liked most of the Eddie Murphy stuff.
well, I mean, his rap one was very embarrassing.
Yeah.
It was so written by, that was the one like, oh, this was clearly written by middle-aged white guys. Like he does his best to make it sound like a Prince song, but it's not good. No. The worst song by far is Family.
Yeah. Yes.
Truly shoot me in the head. Awful. Hate it. No, yeah, Love You I Do is really good. That's like the funkiest one, I think. What was the other one I liked? We'll get to the other one because it's part of the plot. But yes, so there are a few good ones, but yeah, you're right. There's a lot of songs that don't really work in this. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you happens. J Hood gets fired.
And that's the close of the first act.
The curtain goes down. Yeah.
Yeah.
She gives her a big gasp of breath. And I love that. I don't know why it always makes me laugh. Like, I know it's like an emotional moment, but when she kind of go, because you're right, she's
singing.
she's singing at 15 the whole time. She starts at 15 and she finishes at 15. But it's just the way she kind of goes. I'm not going to try it because I don't have a voice and I've already worn myself out. But when she does her biggest note and then she just kind of goes, It really tickles me.
Yeah. It just sent me over the edge because,
Yeah.
like, that song, because it's like 2 or 3 songs all in one, like,
Yeah.
it just goes on for so long. And every now and then she stops and she takes one of these massive intakes of breath because she's got so much more to do.
Yeah.
And it's all at so much. And she does that. And by the end, it's just like one breath will get one note.
Yeah.
That's it. And I don't know. It's a bit much.
No, it is. She is the kind of singer. I mean, even in other stuff she's done, she's an amazing singer, but she does very much sing at that very top point all the time.
Yeah.
And that's not to everyone's taste.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then Act 2 comes in.
Yeah.
And we get with a news report.
Oh, well, this is when it gets a bit social consciousness,
How do
doesn't
they
it?
do it? Yeah,
Because there's in the background they very softly touch about the Detroit riots and Martin
Yeah.
Luther King being murdered and all that kind of. I mean,
Yeah.
they really soft pedal it. It's very barely. There's a brief moment when Jennifer Hudson runs outside and oh my god, there's a riot. Like,
yeah.
it's not particularly gritty, but yeah, that's kind of in the background.
Yeah.
But it does mean that it informs the characters because at this point we've jumped into the future a bit. Like Beyonce's now a megastar in the band, very established, and basically Jamie Foxx's record label, which is basically Motown. Again,
Yeah.
it's very much about the Motown label. It's got Eddie Murphy, it's got Beyonce, it's got Other Girl, and various other people.
Number 3.
It's got Michelle Williams, and all the others.
And now it's got number 4 as well.
And now number 4, the replacement Jennifer Hudson, yeah, but they're all in Jamie Foxx's like record label stable basically, and they're all they want to sing about what's happening. They want to sing about current events and sing about
By the way, obviously this is based off the Supremes.
Yes,
Dreamgirls
100%.
based off the Supremes.
Yeah.
I don't know my history on the Supremes. Was there a fourth? Was there a Jennifer Hudson who got unceremoniously replaced?
Yes.
Is that a thing?
No, 100%. Yes, there was a member of the Supremes. So yeah, it's literally the exact same story. So Supremes in the 60s become this huge girl band sensation. Diana Ross is sleeping with the manager, gets pushed to the front. She's also like very pretty and very glamorous and makes sense. The singer Florence Ballard, she was called, who was pushed behind. It's actually even because this film is very sanitized. In the real world, Florence Ballard got fired from the group, much like Effie does. But rather than have a baby and like live her own life, she died of a drug overdose a few years later. So it's very dark, but yeah. So it's very much based on that.
Yeah.
And then they replaced her with another girl who stayed with the band for a long time. So yeah.
Wow. Well, if they had just ended the film there in Dreamgirls, then it would have actually been a decent length.
It would have been just incredibly bleak, but a bit more truthful. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's grim. Well, anyway, that doesn't happen here. She doesn't age a day, but has a 10-year-old daughter.
Well, she loses her wigs.
Yeah.
she runs out of bad wigs to wear, and she just got it. So we learn that when Jennifer Hudson was fired, she was pregnant with Jamie Foxx's baby, but she never tells him.
Yeah.
So we flash forward to 8 years later, and she's picking up like poverty checks, like she's unemployment checks, and she's got an 8-year-old daughter, but she's too proud to tell Jamie Foxx that she had his baby. So she's fully washed up, just not in the music industry anymore. Meanwhile, Beyonce's a huge star. Jamie Foxx is trying to turn her into a movie star. He's trying to put her in a all-star remake of Cleopatra.
Oh, yeah.
And she's kind of like complaining that she's too old to play the role because Cleopatra's supposed to be 16 and clearly Beyonce's like 35 at this point, which again is a little dig at Diana Ross because Diana Ross starred in a film called The Wiz, which is a all-black remake of The Wizard of Oz, which is actually very good.
Yeah.
It has some great songs, but it does involve Diana Ross at the age of like 37 playing a 15-year-old Judy Garland. It does look weird.
Right, okay.
So there's a lot of digs at Diana Ross in this film.
Yeah.
Or like references too.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically Jamie Foxx is he's very oh, that's it, because we were talking about the riots, weren't we? And the Martin Luther King dying and the Detroit riots, etc. So the singers that Jamie Foxx is managing, particularly Eddie Murphy and Anna Kearney Rose and all of that crew, they really want to sing about things that are real. They want to sing about, current events and actually give a voice to their community.
Yeah.
And Effie, Jennifer Hudson's brother, Cece, who's the main songwriter, he's writing all of these very political songs, and they sing a great song called is it Patience?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, which very much speaks to the times that the characters are living in.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, this is finally this." And especially it's Eddie Murphy gets to sing lead on this song.
Yeah, it's like his big number.
Yeah, and like this is what I've been waiting for all this time. This is a true hit. This is a true, not only a true hit, but like an important song.
And it means something.
It's going to mean something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Jamie Foxx just like shuts it down.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we don't sing message songs. We sing commercial pop songs that sell records. And the fact that he's so dismissive just pushes Eddie Murphy into even deeper into self-destructive mode. We already know that he's a womanizer and he's also a drug addict.
Yeah.
And it pushes him into this very dark place.
Like he immediately starts taking heroin just like there and then.
I mean, yeah, again, the film's not terribly subtle about this. But yeah, so he's very depressed. And then there's a huge concert tribute to Jamie Foxx that Eddie Murphy performs at. And Eddie Murphy gets on stage and once again, he starts singing in a very commercial and safe way. And then immediately he goes full R&B star and he starts rapping. He sings this dreadful song, the Jimmy likes this, Jimmy likes that. Which is I get like credit to Eddie Murphy because he's giving it the full Prince treatment. And you can see what it's trying to. It's just a terrible song.
Yeah.
It's a really terrible song. But he also pulls his pants down and he's clearly like high as a kite. And he gets fired by Jamie Foxx for humiliating him basically. And then
that's the last we see of him.
Yeah, the next thing we see is he has is the newsreel that he's overdosed and died. Essentially because
in the offices of Rainbow Records.
In the office, yeah. So and also he was having a long-term affair with Michelle Williams, number three, who had just broken up with him because of the pant pulling incident.
Oh yeah. And
so she feels incredibly guilty and she's heartbroken as well. So that plot line gets more airtime than I think it deserves. It either gets too much or too little.
No, I disagree. It gets as much airtime as it deserves, but as a ratio compared to every other plot line, this one gets more. It gets more than everybody else.
Like if it either needed to have 20 minutes more airtime or 10 minutes less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everything just needed more.
Pretty much, but not in the sense that I wanted this to be a 4-hour movie.
No, like I'm standing by miniseries.
Miniseries with each episode being an hour on each character. Yes, that would have worked really well.
Not like an hour on each character, but like, just giving everything a bit more time.
Yeah. But anyway, so Eddie Murphy dies. In the meantime, Jennifer Hudson is pursuing a comeback in her own world. She's being managed by Danny Glover, who we haven't talked about, but he's not that important.
Yeah, I didn't really know who he was.
Well, he was Eddie Murphy's manager. He's like the old geezer who doesn't age at all. Well, I mean, he's like...
Well, no one does.
No one does, no. Yeah, he's like the granddad from The Greatest Showman.
Yeah.
Like he's 80 at the start and he's 80 at the end and time just hasn't passed.
Yeah.
But she's kind of pursuing a comeback, doing like very small club gigs. And she gets a gig and she sings this very empowering, ballad. And clearly she's still got the voice, but she doesn't have the confidence and she doesn't have the connections. But after Eddie Murphy dies, her brother quits the record label, CC, because he's really disillusioned with the way that Jamie Foxx is running things and the way that he's like trying to keep things very commercial and not letting them experiment or be their true selves. So he quits, he walks away, and he reconnects with his sister and he apologizes for the way he didn't stand by her back in the day. And he writes her this song called One Night Only, which he wants to give her to be her comeback hits, and it's like his apology to her. And it's this big, soulful, powerful ballad. And he gives it to her, and she, knocks out the park, and she sings it, and it starts climbing the charts. And once again, when Jamie Foxx hears it, he's like, no, kill it, shut it down. He gets Beyonce to record a disco version of the song, which straight away goes to number one. And Effie's version is buried, basically. Now, here's my complaints about this sequence.
Okay.
The Beyonce version of One Night Only fucking slaps. It's amazing. Like, the Beyonce version is far superior and deserves to be the bigger hit.
Yeah.
It's a very, the Jennifer Hudson song is fine. It's a ballad. But give me... I mean, I loved this sequence. It was so funny. When, because it's so, this is dirty. Because, Jennifer Hudson sing... Do you remember? Jennifer Hudson singing it very, one night... It's very soulful.
Yeah.
And then... Beyonce sings it and it's like the gayest thing in the world. There's just greased up, oiled muscle, pit crew. But it's hey, pit crew. It's basically that. Oh, pit crew.
Yeah.
It's fully a pit crew performance.
Yes, it is.
And I loved it. It was fantastic. But it's also a more fun version of the song that I listen to more often.
Yeah.
But we're supposed to think it's disgusting that it was done in a disco style. but it actually like fully works. So what are you going to do? What?
Well, there's a reason why Jamie Foxx's character, despite being evil, is very successful.
Yes, he's very canny. Yeah, he
Yeah,
knows the
like-
industry. Yeah.
Sure. Ripping music off doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be worse.
No, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that he is doing something right, even if it's morally wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and I wish the film had spent a bit more time on that, like the nuance, rather than just making him this like cartoon villain.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Beyonce now has the hit, and Effie's been buried again, and she's obviously heartbroken. But meanwhile, and then the film just kind of forgets Effie for a while and just spends way too much time on Beyonce. So
I enjoyed the montage of her in just like all kinds of different makeup.
sure, yeah. Oh yeah, when she's again, it's all Diana Ross photo shoots. It's just like a huge.
Were they Beyonce in exact positions that Diana Ross was originally in?
100%.
Right.
It's
cool.
not subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I bet that Beyonce's ego was very happy with that.
of course it was. Of course it was. Yes. So then Beyonce, she's still pursuing her film career. She wants to do something a bit more personal, a bit more raw. She doesn't want to do the Cleopatra movie because she knows she's too old for it and she knows it's going to be embarrassing. So she's pursuing her own performance in a kind of a grittier kind of movie where she gives a blowjob or something. That's the conversation they have where like she has to do something that she wouldn't. But that's the whole point. She wants to like break out of her clean and perfect image and be like a real actress.
Yeah.
And that's when she has the meeting with John Lithgow and John Krasinski, drink for cameos. But once again, Jamie Foxx gets wind of it and shuts it down for her.
Yeah.
And at what point does Effie come back? Does somebody die? Is it a funeral? Who dies?
Well, she sings at Eddie Murphy's wake.
Oh, that's it. It's when Eddie Murphy dies. Yeah. That's it. She comes back for the wake and sings. And at some point, her and Beyonce are reconnected briefly. And she admits that she had Jamie Foxx's baby.
Yep.
And then that kind of gives Beyonce a whole wake-up call. She leaves Jamie Foxx, records Listen as like a final fuck you kind of thing. Goes off and does her own thing. And is that the end?
Yeah, that's pretty much the end.
And then it ends with the Dreamgirls reuniting. They do a farewell concert. This is it. So the Dreamgirls as a group do a farewell concert. It's Beyonce, it's Michelle Williams, it's number 4. And they invite Jennifer Hudson back on stage and explain that she was one of the original Dreamgirls.
Yep.
She gets her moment in the sun. She gets to sing. She gets
sing
to
lead while they're, including Beyonce, they're just singing backing. Just backing.
J Hood gets to sing lead. It's fantastic. Jamie Foxx makes eye contact with his daughter and does the weirdest facial expression.
First of all, actually, Jamie Foxx has shown up with a new girl.
With a new woman, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Beyonce's left him. He's got a new woman. He's like, this girl's going to be my new star.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he's sat in the crowd and he sees Jennifer Hudson's daughter and does the most amazing face of like, is that my daughter?
Yeah, it's
so cheesy. It's very cheesy. But
and then he goes down. He's up on a balcony, and he goes down to the floor seats where she is, and he stands next to her and just stares at her
in a very creepy way.
Yeah, and then like the camera looks at the daughter, and the daughter the film's supposed to be making it like she's mesmerized by seeing her mother on stage living her dream, and like the daughter's crying with emotion about it. But I'm just seeing it. I was like, Mummy, why is there a scary man staring at me?
Yes, exactly.
Because that's what it like. He's nothing to her.
Yeah.
She's never seen him before in her life.
True. It's like, take a seat, sir.
Yeah.
I agree.
A man who previously in a film said, "You'll always be 16 to me, babe."
Oh God, yeah. Oh, that was hard. That was rough. But yes, that's basically where the film ends.
Yeah.
It ends with them triumphantly performing, and Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx. It ends with Beyonce and the Dreamgirls triumphantly performing, and Jamie Foxx has been put in his place.
It ends with Jennifer Hudson and the Dreamgirls.
So yes, Jennifer Hudson has been vindicated. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the credits roll. That's the end.
Yeah. Good credits.
Yeah. It's got classic credits where you see the characters it's montage again.
Yeah.
Another montage. Yeah.
But anyway, it's over.
It's over. A reasonable pick.
Yeah, it was all right.
It was fun to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we're early in the year, but this is the worst of the year so far, I think.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Interesting.
It's definitely not anywhere near the worst that happened last year, though.
Sure.
Got some duds that will take some beating.
Sure. Well, we'll see what happens next week. Okay, so drinking games?
Yes. So the first drinking game I've got, drink whenever Jimmy refers to Jimmy in third person.
Oh, yes. This is Eddie Murphy's character. He's, very much a third person kind of star. Yeah. Jimmy gotta be Jimmy. Yeah.
I don't think he ever says I
at
all. He's always talking about himself in a third person. It's really entertaining.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. No, he's a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun. My first drinking game is Drink for Wigs. I mean, it's a standard.
Oh,
but
big time, yeah.
This is a wiggy movie.
Yeah.
Like, they're working through some rough wigs in this movie. Like, they have a whole conversation about wigs
At the start.
where they're like, oh, these wigs are terrible. We need to flip them back to front.
Yeah.
But then I noticed later in the movie, throughout a lot of the girl group scenes, when it's still Beyonce, Michelle, and Jennifer Hudson are supposed to be like a trio backing up Eddie Murphy's character, I noticed that Beyonce had the best wigs by a long way.
Yeah.
Like, the three of them would be together, and Michelle and Jennifer Hudson, their wigs would be a mess.
Yeah.
But Beyonce would have like a perfect lace front that was just perfectly blended into her hairline, and she would look fabulous. It was like, even though they're supposed to be like all three on the same level, it was like Beyonce had a different wig budget. It's Beyonce. She wasn't wearing any cheap wigs. Like,
No,
it was
clearly
good time.
not.
I also enjoyed a lot of the fake wigs when that are supposed to be their natural hair.
Oh, yeah.
That really tickled me.
Yeah.
Like later in the movie when they're like supposed to be being real, you know, when like Jennifer Hudson's got the baby and Beyonce's just like hanging out at home, but they were still heavy wigs.
I didn't notice.
Oh, I loved it.
I've not got a very good wig dar, so I don't pick up on these things.
my wig dar is supreme. It's great.
Drink whenever a new person starts singing for the first time.
Ooh, okay, yes, a new character.
Yeah, so not drunk for every song, because that's boring.
No,
but
I mean, the
like
whole
drink
film is a
when,
musical,
I didn't see Jennifer Hudson's brother having a song. I didn't expect that.
Sure, here's Supreme number 4. She's now getting a
Yeah.
line or two. I didn't realize she was supposed to be a character. Sure,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's definitely ties into another one of mine, which is drink every time Jamie Foxx starts singing and you zone out. Because he gets all the worst. So I mean,
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx, like, very good singer. Don't get me wrong. In his own life, obviously, you know,
Yeah.
great singer. But in this film, he gets all the worst numbers.
Yeah.
And he is definitely like, we are a family united like a tree. Just now, hate it. Zoned out completely, instantly out. So yeah, he just drink through his numbers because it's the only way to get through them, essentially.
Last one I got is drink whenever a song's lyrics thinks they're very subtle and smart, but are actually very on the nose.
Oh, yes. The lyrics were terrible. It was such fun. What was your favourite bad lyric?
I think it was Eddie Murphy's "Welcome to the Dark Side." or
Oh,
something
yeah.
like that.
Step out into the dark.
Step into the dark
Step into
side.
the bad side. Step
Yeah,
into the
yeah.
bad side, yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny. Yeah. What did I like?
Listen by Beyonce. Like,
I mean, that wasn't subtle, but it was pretty. It was on the nose, but I always thought there was an early one. Oh, I think I wrote it down because it really made me laugh. I don't think I wrote it down, but it was something like, "I feel just like the Titanic, and we're going down, down." It wasn't even. It wasn't even that though. It was terrible. It was really bad. Like,
great.
yeah, the lyrics were not the best. Like I said, all written by middle-aged white guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very unsubtle pastiche of soul. It's not. That's the thing. It doesn't feel like real like R&B and soul music. It feels very like pastiche and cheap, which kind of takes away from it a little bit.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
is it's a shame. If the songs were as good as the story, it would be amazing. Like if they were just singing Diana Ross songs.
Yeah.
I have another singing one actually, and
Okay.
this is a big drinking game.
Yeah.
Drink every time Jennifer Hudson goes into the Scream register.
Yeah. God.
or anyone, but particularly Jennifer Hudson. Like,
Well, it's pretty much only her.
it's
that does
mostly
it
her, yeah.
Until
It's her-
the second half of Listen.
Sure, yeah. I mean, I guess it's her thing, but yeah, every time she goes, I mean, I can't
No,
demonstrate
don't
it.
please don't try.
No, I can't. But you know what I mean. You'll know it when you hear it. Every time she goes up into that level,
Every time she needs to take a
yeah,
breath.
exactly, yeah, all that.
Yeah.
Take a big old drink.
Yeah. Oh god, that nearly gave me a heart attack.
Oh, I mean, I think you might have over-exerted a bit there. Yeah.
I was trying to exaggerate it, but it's so exaggerated anyway. Cool, I've not got any more.
Okay, my last one. Drink for unexpected cameos.
Yeah.
So we have John Krasinski from The Office as a scriptwriter. We have John Lithgow in, I would say, wig of the movie. What the fuck was that?
John Lithgow and his pet wig.
John Lithgow's wig was something else. Like, where he got that from,
I don't...
what that was supposed to mean, what
Yeah.
for the character. He looked like a ghoul. He looked like Eddie Munster or something. I don't know. It was
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah,
Very
it's hard to picture what it was, but it was like
It was a choice.
bald
it was a
on
choice
top,
wig, yeah.
long grey hair.
Yes, it was very odd. Did you notice Yvette Nicole Brown from Community?
Yes.
There was literally no lines.
Yep, yeah.
Just in the back, just literally a no line extra. I'm sure there was even a scene where she runs like beside Jamie Foxx. She plays Jamie Foxx's like PA, doesn't she?
Something, yeah.
There's a scene where you see her running along the corridor with him, and I bet she had loads of lines there.
Yeah.
And they got a cut from the movie, and she just ended up being a no-line extra.
Well, when was she a star?
Oh, I'm sure she wasn't a star. I mean,
Yeah.
she was on Community. She's not like a huge star today, but yeah,
Well, she's a big enough star to get a cameo role in Endgame.
You'd think
with
now
lines.
she'd have a line. Yeah, exactly. I don't know, but yes, clearly at this point she was a working actress. But still, I think she must have had some scenes with lines, but they just clearly got cut.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so. It was really obvious because, like I said, she's running along the corridor. It's like,
I guess, yeah.
It's like she's about to say something, and then the camera just cuts to something else. So,
Yeah.
Yes, a drink for surprise and cameos, and also you probably wouldn't notice, but there are a lot of cameos because Dreamgirls originated as a stage show. The 3 actresses who were in the original stage show all have cameos.
Right.
When Eddie Murphy dies and there's that random woman at his wake who's gets her own song, the older woman. Do you remember?
Yes, I do actually. Yeah.
Loretta Devine, she gets her whole bits. I think that.
So, which character was she?
I think she played number 3, Michelle Williams, maybe.
Really?
She wasn't Effie because Effie was played by Jennifer Holliday, who was not in this movie because she was really pissed off about not being in the movie.
Right.
But the actress who played Dina, I think, plays Dina's mom. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are cameos for original stars as well.
Yeah. I like those sort of cameos.
Yeah, that's good. It feels like there was a connection to the past.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I've got. So.
Nice. Yeah, very good. Okay, well, before we get to our sequel ideas, if you have enjoyed this episode so far, listeners, and you've enjoyed any other episode in the past, then you can become a Patreon of ours by going to patreon.com/beyondtheboxset. There you can support us for as much or as little as you think we're worth, because we do a pay-as-you-feel system. And with that, you get plenty of bonus features. You get extended versions of the main show, so more drinking games, more sequel ideas, more chit-chat about the movie, more listener submissions too. Speaking of listener submissions, we're going to start a new thing starting from next week.
Okay.
Where we're going to start doing it'll be a call-in show.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do it
goes.
live because that sounds like way too much work. So what we're going to do is all our Patreons will have the option to, well, basically just record themselves with their idea, whatever it is.
Could be an opinion, could be a sequel pitch, could just be a general comment.
Ideally, we want to make them sequel pitches.
But you can do whatever you want.
If you got something to say about the film, then yeah, certainly.
Share your views, yeah.
Yeah, just because it gets a bit boring just being me and John talking all the time. So try and add many other people to the mix.
Sure.
But hey, it might make for a really good segment at the end of the show. Or who knows, maybe it'll crash and burn.
We'll give it a go. If so, you'll never hear about it.
Yeah. So yeah, all that is going to be available at patreon.com/beyondtheboxset.
Indeed.
Let's see, Alex. What do you think of Jaws, which is at 97% Rotten Tomatoes?
I find it to be anti-shark propaganda. What do you feel about the Entourage movie, which is at a meager 33%?
I think they finally got Hollywood right. How about It Follows, 97%?
Worse than your parents giving you the sex is evil talk. How do you feel about Juno, which is at 94%?
That would be a movie that celebrates a teenage homewrecker. How about Bewitched at 25%?
Best television adaptation ever put to film. How do you feel about American Hustle at a towering 93%?
Overwrought awards bait. Righteous Kill, 19%.
The movie that Michael Mann wishes he had made when he created Heat.
Sounds about right. I'm Julio.
I'm Alex, and we are the Contrarians.
As you can tell, our thing is that we rage against the Rotten Tomatoes machine.
Regardless of what we really feel.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn,
Facebook, Twitter, we're everywhere.
Cool. Now, moving on to sequels.
Okay.
So I've got 2. Do you want me to go first and last, or what?
It's up to you. How do you want to do it? Are they both of equal length?
Ish, yeah.
Fine, do one, I'll do one, then you do one.
Well, I think both of these, I came up with the title before the plot.
Sure, okay.
Always a recipe for success.
Sure.
So this one's called The Nightmare Boys.
The Nightmare... Oh, I see. So the Dreamgirls, the Nightmare Boys. Okay, carry on. Is it like the Jersey Boys?
No.
Okay. No, why would you have seen that?
I don't know what that is.
No, fine. Carry on.
So Jamie Foxx is a few years later. He's still always pushing for that new sound.
Okay.
He wants something that's going to really make him like huge. He comes across this small group of 4 teenage boys who are doing a barbershop quartet gig.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And so, yeah, he listens to them for a bit, and they've got really great voices. They've got some light choreography going on as well, just a little bit. And he's like, okay, there is potential in this group.
Okay.
They've got it. Well, they've not got it yet, but they could have it.
They've got potential, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he employs them, and they release their first single. Still in
What year is this? Sorry.
this is late 70s.
Okay.
So he's thinking like, okay, 80s are coming, new decade, new start. Like
Right.
we're gonna take the 80s. And so their first single, it doesn't do well. It's the late 70s. Nobody wants a barbershop quartet.
No, that song is that genre has been and gone. Yeah.
Yeah, retro has not been invented yet. This is not it.
Okay.
So he decides to reinvent them completely to try and create an entirely new genre of music.
Interesting.
And he takes his time trying to work out what that is, for which we get a little musical montage of all the failed attempts.
Oh, interesting. Just like failed 80s synth pop and disco and and with a mix of barbershop quartet.
Yeah, maybe that sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Or just anything. Maybe they drop the barbershop quartet bit, but maybe they keep it for some attempts. And I don't know. They have a lot of singles. None
of it's working.
They're all
Okay,
very different. Nothing's working.
It's not connected. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
But one day, when he sees this artist, this huge artist, called Mickey Johnson,
Mickey Johnson,
previously from the Johnson 5.
I see. Okay, it's coming together. Okay.
Has sold a #1 album called Horror with an
Okay.
accompanying #1 music video. It gives him an idea for a new genre. Make it scary, make it
Okay.
darker, make it way more intense.
Okay.
And so in 1980, the birth of a new decade, he reinvents the Boys as the first ever heavy metal boy band
Oh, interesting. Okay.
called the Nightmare Boys.
The Nightmare. So they're like full Slipknot style heavy metal.
Yeah.
Are they wearing costumes?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Like
Okay.
proper sort of like Lordy from Eurovision
Nice.
costumes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's your reference. Sure. Okay. It's very cute.
God damn it. That's what I've got here.
Okay, interesting. So it's Jamie Foxx. Where's Beyonce in all this? Has she left him?
You know what? She's in my next idea, which
Okay.
could technically be in the same world.
Coincide, sure. Yeah. Oh, I'm just wondering, like, is
But yeah, like she's absolutely left him. She's
okay? So she's not due. It's not going to be like a weird duet between Beyonce and a bunch of heavy metal singers.
no.
Okay. No, that could work. Yeah, and it could be the story of heavy metal in the 80s. Yeah, because that was a genre that took off. It could, is one of them? I know you've done a whole Michael Jackson reference, but I mean, you didn't mention whether these are white boys or black boys. I mean, not that it terribly matters, but maybe one of them's Ozzy Osbourne.
Okay, yeah.
So it becomes like from the story of Beyonce
Yeah.
to the story of another rock and roll icon, it becomes the story of Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah, no, that totally works.
And he ends up on reality television.
Yep.
Yeah.
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 Great. And it just transitions into
Yeah.
his TV
but
career.
the soundtracks changes. So in the first half, it's all like, sanitized disco music from
Yep.
Dreamgirls. And then it turns into 80s Total Eclipse of the Heart style stuff. Mm-hmm. That could be interesting and
Yeah.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, so that was the Nightmare Boys.
Very good. I like it. I think I would like to see. I'd like to see like an Eddie. I would like to see an Ozzy Osbourne musical biopic, but it's filmed like Dreamgirls.
Yeah.
So it's very like
yeah.
Hollywood and cheesy, but also with these like incredible death metal and people batting heads off at bats kind of
Yeah.
style. Oh, that could work.
Yeah.
I'm into that. Okay. Do you want me to do my one next then?
Yeah, go on.
Sure. So I've just got the one. It is called Dreamgirls 2 Divas Reunited.
Nice.
And this is based on real events because obviously this film is based very heavily on the life story of Diana Ross and the Supremes. So I thought I would pick up on that and where they went after that. So it opens 30 years later in the early 2000s, much like it opens in the present day. So 40 years later, I'm going to play with the timeline a little bit. It opens in the present day. So 40 years have passed. Dina, the Beyonce character, is still a pop icon. She's Diana Ross. Diana Ross is still a star. She's still packing out the stadium. She's had a long solo career.
She's still performing.
Yes, I had gigs to see with my mum before lockdown happened, and we're hoping it happens before one of them dies.
What, like the Supremes?
No, my mum, Diana Ross.
Okay. The Supremes in your eyes.
Yeah, sure, yeah. No, it's a Diana Ross solo gig, but Diana Ross is like 78. Yeah. We hope. Fingers crossed. So it's 40 years later. Dina has remained a pop icon, has had a huge solo career. She's revered, she's an icon, she's a legend, she tours on her own. Effie, on the other hand, it just never happened.
Yeah.
Like, even though she got that moment with Beyonce with Dina, where she gets introduced as the fourth dream girl and gets the solo number, that was where it peaked. Like, her solo career just never took off.
Yeah.
It just didn't happen. So she has once again drifted away from the spotlight. She's not stayed famous, and she's bitter. She's angry. She's bitter. Her and Beyonce have fallen out again. It's like she still feels like Dina has stolen her spotlight. So she's been out of the business for a long time. She's had a lot of personal problems. Maybe she's had drug problems. Maybe she's like had shoplifting or all kinds of. She's just not done well. Time hasn't been particularly kind to her, and she's kind of fallen out with everyone. So she's very much estranged from the group. But also Laurel, the Michelle Williams of the group, Anna Canoni Rose, they've also drifted apart. She's not really part of the group anymore because she, at some point in like the 80s or 90s, after Beyonce had gone solo and the group had kind of faded away a little bit, she wrote a tell-all autobiography about her life with the Dreamgirls as like the Michelle of the group, as the third wheel.
Yeah.
Talking about how Dina basically stole the spotlight and also talking about how Effie had, been a diva and had misbehaved and had caused problems, but basically throwing them both under the bus a little bit. And so both of them were really mad at her for doing that. And so all three of them are basically, now they're all completely not friends anymore. They're just completely splintered, different lives. So that happens. So they're splintered. But then we open this movie with all that. We have some backstory about how they don't speak anymore. But the main event that opens this movie is that Jamie Lee Foxx's character Curtis. It's because Jamie Foxx, Jamie Lee Curtis. It's all in my head. Jamie Foxx's character dies.
Okay,
he's dead.
Good.
Just of old age, whatever. He dies, and because he's like the Berry Gordy of this film universe, he's like this huge musical mogul who's created all these stars. For all his flaws, he did create all these stars. He gets this massive like Hollywood tribute concert, which is like a big TV event. And this is based on an actual show that was on in the year 2000 called VH1 Divas Live, which was a celebration of pop divas, and Diana Ross and the headline and Diana Ross and the Supremes were the headliners. I can't speak, I'm sorry. Diana Ross and the Supremes headlined this gig. So her ex-husband is dead. Beyonce, Dina, is hired to headline, but it's supposed to be a Dreamgirls reunion. So it's supposed to be the Dreamgirls reunited for the first time in like 30 years to headline this tribute to her ex-husband who's passed away. But because Laurel and Effie won't participate, because they're not friends anymore, they don't speak anymore, they can't reunite. They just can't bring it together. So instead, she brings in the fourth girl, the one who replaced Effie, and another girl who replaced Laurel, like who was never even in the band at the same time as Dina, but was in like the band years later.
And just hopefully the cameras won't zoom in.
And tries to pass off that they're the original Dreamgirls. Which is genuinely what happened when Diana Ross did VH1 Divas Live.
Really?
She sang with two Supremes. It was like a Supremes reunion with two girls who she'd never sung with before because they joined the band after she left.
Right.
And it was really fakey. It was ridiculous. Because the two originals, one of them was dead and the other one wasn't speaking to her. So it was just like, it was very phony and she got a lot of bad press. So, So she does this concert with the reunited Dreamgirls. But much as in reality, she gets really bad press for it. Like the show's like, this isn't a real Dreamgirls reunion. It's fake. These are different girls. She gets slammed by the press. Like the tabloids have a field day with it. And Effie and Laurel get interviewed about it, and it causes all this drama, and like it all comes out as if, and basically Beyonce Dina is being painted as like this very diva-ish kind of leading lady who won't let anyone share the spotlight, and it's a PR disaster basically. It was a big mistake. She's made a huge mistake. Oh, and also at the VH1 Divas Live, the actual real thing, it was lots of different artists performing, and it was like Diana Ross headlined with the Supremes. One of the acts that also performed was Destiny's Child, and this is like early Destiny's Child when they had like jumping upside down, very early.
Sure.
And it was just kind of funny at the time that it was like the next generation of this exact same thing. So I think that could be like a fun in this movie where this young girl band is also performing.
Right.
And
but like it's still Beyonce playing.
It could still be Beyonce, but it's like, but Dina basically sees the next generation. It's like, oh God, it's going to happen again. Like clearly there's a star and there's two, backing singers here. And
who do you get to play young Beyonce?
Who's young Beyonce? Good question. I don't know. But the point is that So Beyonce sees, or Dina sees these young stars who are having the same mistakes that she's having. There's one being pushed to the front, the other two being pushed to the back, and maybe that gives her a moment.
Was there a fourth one at one point?
Yeah, there were 4 Destiny children, and then one got fired. And,
Great.
Yeah,
So
that
it really
band
is-
has been through.
It really is the same thing.
Yeah, no, really, 100% the same story. Which makes it so funny that Beyonce did this movie, it's so close to the bone. It's hilarious. Like, I don't know if any of the back in Destiny's children are better singers than Beyonce. Like Kelly Rowland can sing. I don't know if she's a better singer than Beyonce, but she can sing. I don't know any other two, but it's still very close.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, so she sees that, and maybe that gives her a bit of a moral crisis, like a crisis of conscience. But anyway, so the gig backfires. She gets horrible reviews and very highly criticized for the way she's like replaced the original girls with these 2 faceless nobodies. But it does kind of revitalize the story of the Dreamgirls, because it's 30 years later. People haven't really talked about the Dreamgirls in a long time. It's like, it's kind of ancient history. So the fact that this gig goes so badly, it reignites the story in the press. And so they do get an offer after the gig has gone down to reunite as a proper trio. Now the press really wants to see the original trio, what they were denied at the concert, get back together for like a special documentary.
Yeah.
Like a reality documentary, like behind the music kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because they can sense that'll be really dramatic. And because she's been so badly attacked in the press for how she's treated them in the past, Dina really wants to do it to kind of win back her reputation a bit and show that she's not this horrible, diva. So she really approaches the other two and tries to convince them to join this documentary and to have this proper reunion so they can all tell their side of the story. And that's going to be the main part of the film. I think the main part of this sequel is going to be in the style of a documentary, like with talking heads with the 3 of them talking about their experiences in the band, and they're all going to have different memories of it, but they're all going to have reasons to dislike the other 2 and to have like resentments. So the 3 of them reluctantly agree to do it, and they're all being interviewed separately, and it concludes with the 3 of them being reunited for like all in the same room for a proper sit down, tearful, putting it all out on the line, just like really just airing all the dirty laundry. So they're going through all of that, and it concludes with the 3 of them performing together again for the first time in a long time, because the documentary gets huge ratings. They don't actually make up again. They're still very angry at each other, but because the ratings are so high, they still get booked into a real world tour. So they're having to perform together again, even though they still hate each other.
Yeah.
And it's a very tense situation. But I'm thinking that while all of that is happening, while they're like having this reunion tour, which is they're kind of just all grinning and bearing because none of them really want to be there, but they either need the money or they need like, or in Beyonce's case, she just needs the publicity. They're kind of grinning and bearing through this tour, even though they don't really like each other anymore. But in the background, and the reason I wanted to set it today, is that while they're going through all of this, the Black Lives Matter movement is kicking off, much like the Detroit riots are happening in the original.
Yeah.
So that's kind of in the background going on. And I'm thinking that Effie's brother, Cece, the original songwriter, because obviously he was trying to write political songs back in the 70s and Curtis wouldn't let him like release them. He still feels very politically engaged, and he wants to get involved, and he feels very strongly about the Black Lives Matter movement and supporting it. So he goes out to one of the protests and ends up getting beaten up by the police.
Oh, right.
And he gets caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
He gets like beaten by the police and ends up in hospital. And he lives. I don't want to make it too dark. He lives. It's fine. But he is hospitalized. And obviously because other things happen, it's going to be very much like true to life. Like maybe other people die, and it's a big national crisis. And Beyonce and the Dreamgirls get invited to headline a tribute concert, like a Black Lives Matter tribute or a fundraising or awareness kind of concert kind of thing.
Yeah.
And at that moment, because Effie's brother has been, who they're all very close to, has had this near-death experience and has had this horrible experience, and because they now see through the Black Lives Matter movement, maybe they talk to younger people like the lead singer of this new girl band that they've noticed, who talk about how like the 3 of them being examples of like strong Black womanhood and like women who are working together has inspired them and made them realize that they can be anything they want to be.
Yeah.
And especially with the political situation being what it is, it inspires them to realize, oh, wow, we actually did some really good stuff. And that's the door that opens to allow them to reconcile. And then they realize that they actually this concert is the reason it unites them to bury the hatchet and put all of their old rivalries behind them and actually just celebrate their legacy and what they've done and bring out a positive message to the world. And so it ends with a triumphant reunion concert where they actually do get along and they all like hug it out at the end and they all get to sing lead a little bit. They probably, they share it equally. They decide, fine, after all these years, they're all going to get their moment in the spotlight and it's going to be a really positive, inspirational ending and the credits will roll.
Nice.
That's it, yeah. So that is Divas Reunited. Dreamgirls 2, Divas Reunited.
Yeah, that's good. I really like the way you did that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
I was wondering how dark it was going to get towards the end there, but
No, I didn't want to make it
I think
depressing.
you just skated along the
I didn't want to
the
make
right
it
line for it.
Yeah, I didn't want to make it super bleak, but
No,
I wanted it to be like relevant to the times. I was thinking,
Yeah.
how could you make a Dreamgirls sequel make sense today? And I think that'd be a good way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So my second idea is called Dreamgirls 2: The Awakening.
Oh, interesting. Is this a horror movie?
No.
Okay. I'm bored then.
So shortly after leaving Rainbow Records,
Sure.
Dina becomes aware of a small artist known as Diana Ross.
At the same time.
Yeah.
Is Dina older than Diana Ross or about the same age? Or?
They're about the same age.
So
aren't
is
they?
Diana Ross not a star yet?
She hears one of her songs on the radio and notices a lot of similarities to her own songs.
Okay.
Thinking that Miss Ross has ripped her off, she gets in touch with Danny Glover, the closest thing she has to an agent right now.
Sure.
And he tells her that he's also just discovered her music.
So is Diana Ross like the biggest thing in the world right now, but it's like it's happened overnight? Or is she kind of up and coming?
Yeah. So like they're baffled by the fact that they've never heard of this person or the Supremes, who are apparently a thing.
Okay.
Even though they've got a very successful decade-long career at this point.
Right, okay. So is this like a mystery?
Yeah,
It's like a alternate universe weird scenario, yeah.
Sort of, yeah. So
Okay.
Danny Glover gets in touch with Jamie Foxx and confronts him about the whole thing. Just like, what is this? Mm-hmm. How have you not noticed that like there's this Diana Ross, there are the Supremes, they're so similar to Dina and the Dreamgirls. Like,
Yeah. What have you pulled? Yeah.
yeah, how have they managed to copy this?
Yeah.
That we've done, this original idea that we've done. How have they copied it and got away with it? How did you let that happen?
Sure.
So Jamie Foxx admits that he's been controlling all the music that they had access to. But now that they've left his record, he's unable to do it.
Oh, so Diana Ross was always a big star, but
Yep.
Dina was never allowed to hear her music.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's one of the reasons why he actually married Dina.
She was stupid?
No. So that he could make sure that she never actually heard a Diana Ross song.
I mean, that's
And-
impressive. How is that possible?
I don't know, just go with it.
Okay, sure. So she's never been allowed to listen to the... She's never been allowed to listen to the radio or like talk to other celebrities.
Maybe we get like a little flashback montage of him just like frantically like changing radio stations or like causing a power cut or something.
Yeah,
or,
I really like the idea that he's created this alternative reality that's like it's like the Truman Show. He's keeping
Yeah.
it trapped in. Yeah.
Yeah, so like she doesn't realize that that's happened.
Uh-huh.
That she's never heard of the Supremes, never heard of Diana Ross, and they've got basically the exact same careers.
Sure.
And so like, sure, Dina has had, or Dina or the Dreamgirls, I forget which, had like a number one every year for 6 years running or something.
Sure, yeah.
But they weren't aware that like a month beforehand, the Supremes hadn't had a number one with a very similar song.
Oh, and so
They're basically a cover band.
So in the real world, are Dina and the Dreamgirls seen as like a lazy, cheap ripoff? They're not like the biggest stars in the world they think they are.
Yeah, sure.
They're
and
like
their number ones are all happening at like, I don't know if there's like an off peak in the year.
Sure. It's like Diana Ross and the Supremes, the Spice Girls, and Dina and the crew with Atomic Kitten. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
They're a bit more low rent than they think they are.
Yeah.
Sure, okay. That was a very British reference, Atomic Kitten. Like, Spice Girls, you'll get American listeners, but Atomic Kitten, I don't think they really translated, but yeah.
So yeah, and also apparently every time the Motown label got in touch with Rainbow Records with a cease and desist,
yeah, sure.
Jamie Foxx paid the mob to threaten them. Because that was brought up in this film, wasn't
yes,
it?
That was a whole thing, that he was
in with
deep
the mob.
in with the mob. Okay, interesting.
That's what the mob was doing.
Okay.
They were threatening Motown, just saying like, no, don't you do that.
Could it be that he's actually very much inflating Dina's popularity and like
Quite possibly, yeah.
faking out, paying for fake charts that say she's number one when really she's at number like 72.
Paying for lots of people to pretend to make a film around her.
The whole thing is an illusion. Yeah.
She didn't win an Oscar for Cleopatra. She won an Oscar.
Yes, exactly. It's all fake. He's created a completely phony reality. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. So then Danny Glover and Dina they go around all the other Rainbow Records acts and tell them that all of their careers are rip-offs.
Oh dear.
Another montage, of course, but I'm going to go on for the the example, they go to Mickey Johnson, the
Michael Jackson,
the
yeah.
artist who brought us horror,
Yeah.
and they introduce him to Michael Jackson,
Oh,
who
no.
he's never heard of before now,
How traumatic.
and tell him that his band, the Five Johnsons, is just a rip-off of the Jackson Five.
The Five Johnson. What a name. What a band name.
Mind blown.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the end of Rainbow Records.
Sure.
I'll be honest.
All the lawsuits have finally caught up on them, yeah.
When the acts cotton on, they're like, "Oh my god, I don't have a career. My career is fake," and it's just making Jamie Foxx like some money.
Yeah.
Not even as much money as whoever owns Motown. So yeah, when that happens, everybody leaves. But born from its ashes is a new type of music, and with it comes a new label, and it's called Faux-Town.
Faux-Town, okay.
Spelt F-A-U-X.
Yes, I picked that up. Yeah.
Cool. And it is a record label for cover bands.
Okay.
All these artists, they keep their names, Mickey Johnson and whatever else, and
Sure.
they just keep doing what they're doing, really.
So they become like big
in-
hits on the Butlin circuit.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, basically. And that's just the birth of cover bands.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so they accidentally, without realizing it, they've invented the concept of the tribute act.
Yeah.
I like it because that is in itself a very lucrative industry. But I like the idea that they thought they were originals, and so the mid-movie drama is that they are very upset that they thought they were big stars and they're not. But then they realize they can still have careers. They just have to accept that they're a cover band, and that's okay. That's its own living, and it's a respectable one.
Absolutely.
I like it.
That's Faux-Town Records.
Faux-Town Records.
Yeah.
Love it. Very good.
Really happy when I came up with Faux-Town.
Yeah, that's good. Have you ever seen a tribute act, like a notable tribute act live?
No, I don't think I have, actually.
No.
Maybe.
I don't think I've ever
I
been
might have
to...
seen the Stereophonics, but it might not have been them.
You think it might... You can't tell. I mean, yeah. Who can say?
Yeah.
I love a tribute act name.
Yeah, they're the best.
I love that. I never saw them live, but I was in Hebden Bridge once, just like on a day out, and I saw a poster for a Bon Jovi tribute act called By Jovi. It made me so happy.
That's great.
Yeah, I love a tribute act name. So,
Yeah. I've seen Blue. They were basically a tribute act of themselves.
pretty much, yeah. If you stick around long enough, that's what you become. Yes.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, shall we move on to listener submissions?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So, I've got a few this week. Adam Capitanio said Nightmare Girls.
Great.
Yeah, I guess somewhat similar to your first idea, but
Just flip it around.
yeah, Dreamgirls, Nightmare Girls, yeah.
What would Nightmare Girls be like?
Either a heavy metal band, like you've said,
Yeah.
or maybe it's just... Well, the next idea might explain that somewhat. The next one is from Dennis Fanning, and Dennis Fanning says Dreamgirls 2 Dream Warriors,
Oh, okay.
which is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Ah, right.
So again, it could be a horror movie, a full horror movie, where they exist in a nightmare land, which might be populated entirely by cover version acts. So it could all tie back to yours. So yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And finally, Mikey Orlando
Yeah.
said, RuPaul's Drag Race, bring back my Dreamgirls? You know how RuPaul says,
yes.
bring back my girls.
Sorry,
in
yeah,
ridiculous ways.
don't know why it took me a while to get that, but yes.
Bring back my Dreamgirls? Yeah, so that could be fun.
Yeah, totally.
It could be a drag race. It could be a whole film based around a drag race girl group challenge. Who knows? Yeah.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of fun. So thank you everybody for those sequel ideas. We ask for your listener submissions every week, a few days before we record, by putting posts out on Facebook and Twitter where you can post your ideas. So make sure you like and follow our pages if you don't want to miss out. To listen to more episodes of Beyond the Box Set, you can subscribe and browse our back catalogue on any podcasting platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google Play, and many others, all of which you can also leave a 5-star review if you so wish, but only if you feel we deserve it. As mentioned before, we're also available on Patreon, which is exclusively for the people who would rate us more than 5 stars if they could. You can find all the relevant links in the description below or at beyondtheboxset.com. Cool. Okay, so it's a me pick next week, I believe, Harry.
Yep.
And I'll be honest, I'm torn.
Okay.
I am torn like Natalie and Imbruglia is torn.
Great.
Because I'm not going to do a Natalie and Imbruglia film.
Thank God.
I don't think there are any. But basically, so this season so far, I think we played it quite safe. I chose a Bette Midler film. Bette Midler is as much an actress as she's a singer. You chose Dreamgirls, which, yes, Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson were not known as actors, but also, I don't know, they were pretty safe.
Yeah.
We haven't done... I feel like last time we did musicians starring in films, whether it worked or it didn't.
Yeah.
So, on the one hand, I've got an idea, which I think would be fun to talk about a very big star who made a film and it was not successful.
Okay.
But then I feel I did promise I'd stop giving you bad films. I know you had a hard time with like some like genuinely terrible films.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a choice.
Okay.
And it's up to you.
Great.
Next week, we can either do a truly dreadful Madonna film
Okay.
or we can do a very good Cher film.
Okay.
We know Cher can act.
Yes. Which is the most entertaining? Like, because is Cher doing like a serious sort of performance, or is she doing a snap out of it?
Well, the good Cher film is Moonstruck. So yes, it's her Oscar film. It's an amazing film.
Okay.
Whereas the Madonna film is a film called Next Best Thing, which I think we'll have some fun things to talk about.
So is it a bad film? Is it?
The Madonna film is terrible. The Cher film is amazing.
Is the Madonna film a bad film or a good bad film?
I've not seen it in a long time. I think there'll be a lot to talk about. I can't promise it's not a terrible film.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Cher.
You want to go Cher? You're avoiding it. Okay, we'll do Moonstruck. The next week it's Moonstruck.
You want to watch that Madonna film? Get back to me. Sure.
I mean, I don't know if I'd trust
not like for next week or something.
No, I don't know if I'd trust my judgment. You know, what I consider a fun bad film, sometimes you just consider unwatchable. So that's my concern.
That's very true.
Next best thing is about the plot is Madonna has sex with her gay best friend and they have a baby, and then she meets a real man, and then they fall out over ownership of the baby.
No, I'm definitely out. It sounds absolutely ridiculous, and I wouldn't put it past it to just be completely inappropriate.
It probably hasn't aged well, yeah.
Yeah, that's I think what would concern me is that it just feels wrong, and then it's just uncomfortable to watch.
Okay, let's do Moonstruck. We know Moonstruck's a good time. Fine. You've watched it with me. We watched it together, but I mean, it was a long time ago. You probably forgot it. So let's do Moonstruck. I mean,
you know, like that we watched 6 movies on your birthday or something.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, snap out of it, so you got some references, but yeah.
Great.
It's an amazing. Moonstruck is amazing.
Cool. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening.
Yep.
Join us next week for Moonstruck, and if you want to take part in the episode, patreon.com/beyondthebox.
Dial in. I'll put the details on our Patreon channel imminently.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you
Take
later.
care. Bye.